So when you were 3 and you played that first game, did you win that game?
I don't remember. They never, I mean...
Dad doesn't remember either, it looks like. He's shaking his head.
He was so impressed that he knew how the pieces moved, and never taught him.
Yeah, and did you know how all the pieces moved? Like even the knights and, I mean, and the rooks and...
Yep, that's
what
I'm told.
That's amazing.
Just from watching. So at what age did you start to read? I'm interested in your other areas of mental
really
success.
I would say around
4. Your mom says 4. Your parents are here in the studio with us, and it's a joy to see the look on their faces as you're speaking. They're pretty proud of you.
Around 4, I think that's when my mom really just kind of put me into school and started getting me going. And that's kind of when I started with mathematics and reading and stuff like that.
So what kind of grades do you get in school?
For the most part, I'm homeschooled.
Okay.
I only take one public class.
And that enables you to give the practice to this that you need.
Yeah.
What is the public class?
Seminary.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I after the first quarter, I'm not good with the public school terms, but after the first quarter, I think, I had an A+. So.
Wow. That's great. So, you were there with Garry Kasparov, and as I saw him on the video and some still photos, it looked like he was doing a clinic with you or something, because he was over your shoulder, and it looks like you're talking with somebody or something. Did they give clinics or give you pointers or anything after the tournament or in between, or what kind of interaction do you have with the greats who were there?
I hadn't really seen Garry Kasparov until that last day.
Okay.
I think it's just because he's really busy. We are supposed to, me and several other kids were supposed to be going to New York. I think that's December 13th through the 15th. And that will mostly be just kind of a camp analyzation of the games and stuff. So I really think...
so you mean you analyze past games?
Yeah. That's really...
that's like looking at the films of the football game.
You break it down afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you see your weaknesses and you're like, oh, I probably should work on that. I mean, that's one of the greatest things about a loss is, you did something wrong, so you have something clearly to work on.
So when you start, you say the start is that the word you used?
Yeah.
Opening.
The opening is the most difficult thing for you. Why is that? And how many steps into the opening do you call the opening?
I would say just overall, the start of a tournament, like those first few rounds, and the opening of the game have been some of the 2 hardest parts for me. And usually for me, just because I like to do as much work as I can before the game, if I can know it 20 moves deep, an opening, that's fine, but usually 10 to 15 is good. And before the World Youth, I had been working on my openings for like the past 2 months, getting those set so I wouldn't get caught in some opening problems and get in trouble that way in the tournament.
So, in other words, the opening that you're talking about is the pattern of moves, maybe 15 deep of moves, that you are planning, and then when your opponent moves something contrary to you being allowed to continue in that because he now has moved in your way, or you need to protect yourself, then you also have alternatives in your brain for how to now adapt to what your opponent has done in intervening with your 15-move plan? Is that what you're...
Yeah, in the openings, pretty much, I might sit there for 1 to 4 hours, depending on how much time I have before the game. Just kind of saying, okay, if I play this, what could he play? And, you look at it in the computer, so it's telling you what the best move is or what the top players have played. And then, there might be a case where they play something that you didn't look at, and you just say, oh, the computer didn't recommend that, the top players didn't recommend that, that can't be good. And you start thinking.
Okay. And it's basically being able to recall all of those kinds of options in a moment when you really need them.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was doing all before the World Youth, is trying to get those in my head so I could be prepared for whatever they wanted to throw at me.
I remember Wayne Gretzky said that the secret to his greatness was he said that other players know where the puck is. He knows where the puck is going to be. Is it similar to that you have to know where the checkmate is going to be?
Yeah, kind of, I would say, going into the last few rounds of the World Youth and the tournament, one of the things I kept trying to tell myself is just where I wanted to see my pieces. I mean, you say it's like 5 moves away, so anything could happen. He could mess up my plan. But you just want to have what you're shooting for. Not what's here, but what you want to get, what you want to get with this move. And sometimes you can calculate precise moves, but other times you just have to say, this is what I want. So maybe I don't know exactly what he's going to play, but I'm going to start moving to what I want.
So what advice would you give to a novice chess player who wants to be better?
Chess, because it's so wide and the details and the knowledge, it's really hard to give a single detail that would help everybody. But what it comes down to, and I already kind of talked about this, but for me and for everybody I've seen, it comes down to just being willing to put in the work and putting in the work, so that you can be prepared and find out what you yourself could fix.
You're listening to Red Meat Radio on AM 630, and we are talking with Kayden Troff, the champion of the 14 and under World Games in chess in Slovenia. And he is telling us all of his secrets so that you can learn them too. It seems to me, Kayden, that this is more of it's sort of it's as great as any athletic event as you describe it, because it's this mental gymnastics that takes so much training. I had no idea that you have given I don't know, probably 10,000 hours at least to perfecting your game, and that's why you are a great player. It's interesting to see these other players who were there, and I want you to tell us why they have these age groups, and also why there's girls only sections. There's open sections also, as I understand, where boys and girls both compete. Is that right? Or are they boys competing against boys and girls against girls?
At the World Youth, it was pretty much the open section, so girls could play in it. But I think for the most part, all the boys played in the open, and all the girls played in the girls section.
So why a girls section? I can understand it in gymnastics, in basketball, in sports, but is it because girls tend to have less interest, or is there a difference in girls' chess and boys' chess in the way they actually perform?
I would say performance overall. If the top woman player ever, her name's Judith Polgar, and she's right up there with all the top men and all of them. But I think it's not about performance, but more about interest, and just the fact I think girls show less interest in chess. That because of that, because there's not as much interest, they're not as strong. And I would also say because there's more guys, I would say probably girls would learn differently. And I think because there's so much guys that play chess, they don't know how to teach them as well as they do other guys. So I would say it's not about they can't perform as well, because there have been females that have shown that they can play with the top. I think it's just about interest and just general understanding into their way of learning.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I was just curious about that. And do you think also that maybe girls don't tend to be as interested and don't give the 10,000 hours? Is that part of it too, do you think?
It's possible.
But you haven't played against girls because they don't tend to go to the open tournament where you are.
I actually have. There are quite a bit of strong female players out there, and one of the U.S. Women's Championships. Her name's Irina Krush. I've played her, I think, twice, and I've actually lost both times.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, there are definitely some strong female players out there that play in these open tournaments and win some great games. So, I think if they were to show more interest, you would definitely see them competing more for these open titles and stuff like that.
Do you? Well, go ahead.
I'm wondering, do you get any fan mail?
Yeah, somewhat.
More from boys or from girls?
I haven't fully checked. I've been getting a lot of texts, and I would actually say more from girls saying they saw it and congratulations. But on chess.com, I've had a decent amount of people, put on my chess.com page, just congrats. And I also put up a blog there, just kind of throwing up there that I won it and that I'm writing an article with more details later. And I've had quite a bit of people tell me congratulations.
Oh, that's great.
So my challenge to you, Kayden Troff, is, since we have just 1 minute left, I think it's a shame that chess doesn't have the viewership or the interest that that sports do, and even poker. Poker is a mental game, and you now see it on the cable channel, and people are watching. Part of it is because you get to see whatever player has in their hand, but with chess, it all happens inside the brain, and so you don't get to see the options that player is looking at and that kind of thing. I want to give you a challenge to think of a way to make the public want to watch a chess match because they maybe the player reveals his thinking or some way. If there was some way of that being known to the public as they're watching this, even if it's a delayed broadcast, you willing to think about that and tell us, maybe come back to us in a year and come up with some way of making this so that people really can watch it?
I think they need Aaron Andrews on the sideline giving commentary. That would help.
Looks like we're out of time. Thank you for joining us, Kayden.
Thank you.
You're listening to Utah's first #1 talk station, K-Talk, AM 630, KTKK, Sandy, Salt Lake City. The whole truth and nothing but the truth.